Hi everybody, this is Dr. Lasky, and we are moving on to a discussion of the structure for your methodology in your findings and discussion chapters. As we discussed in the Lit Review, and I actually should center this so it's done properly here, there we go, and findings, let's do this correctly, because these are your level 1 headings. Whenever you do research, you need to talk about how you collected your data and what data you collected. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do is paraphrase what I've included here, because this is where you will actually discuss how you collected your data using the template. So the data literacy rubric. So I met with X many members of our school leadership team for this many hours in such a location. And you would say, and we did this in fall of 2017. As a team, we read through the criteria, and sorry, it's spelled wrong, and that's going to bother me. For each area of the literacy, for each area of data literacy capacity, and we used the criteria in each assessment category. We came to a consensus on which level of assessment literacy the leadership team in our school most closely fit. So, let's do a quick spell check. Get that right. There we go. After the methodology come your findings. In this section, you're going to start with an opening paragraph. And as with the literature review, there's going to be a clear structure that you follow and you replicate with each paragraph. So in this section, you're going to start with an opening paragraph where you say something to the effect of, I provide an analysis of the data on our school leadership team's assessment literacy capacity. The rubric that you guys used to assess yourselves, your leadership team's data literacy capacity, had several components. Each component, the write-up you do for each component will be its own paragraph, right? For component 1, which is develops a structure to oversee and implement assessment literacy, and I'm just pretending here because I didn't actually do it with a set of colleagues here. We ranked ourselves level 3 based on the following criteria. And here you type out the elements of the rubric level that you used in making your own decisions, okay? Now you're going to move on, and you're going to, for component 2, you will, again, for component 2, actually give the title of that component in your opening sentence, which in this case is to establish a common vocabulary related to assessment literacy. We ranked ourselves level 4 based on the following criteria. And then you type out the elements of the rubric level that you used in making your decision. You will now replicate this structure, this, and this, for the following components of the rubric. Okay? That's the first phase in producing your findings and discussion section of your paper. In the final paper, you are going to integrate and synthesize the following elements from Saccone with your data analysis results. So we're going to start you with building consensus, solving problems collaboratively by choosing the best solution, and the art of dilemma management. And what you're going to do is you're going to look through the findings from your analysis. And this is where you can actually integrate your professional experience and what's going on with your school in coming up with the relevant elements from each of these subsections in Part 3 by Saccone, in coming up with sort of a nuts and bolts suggestion, nuts and bolts discussion of how you're going to build consensus in your school, how you're going to solve problems collaboratively in your school, how you're going to manage dilemmas, okay? The other piece we're going to look at, the other part of your discussion, is going to be looking more at the logistical things here. So what do you do to cultivate a structure of shared leadership in your school, given where you were at in the results from the rubric scoring that you did? So, and each of you are going to have different contextual factors that are going to shape how you look at each of these elements when you're putting together your final paper. And the ultimate goal of this assignment is for you guys to walk out of here, walk out of this class with a piece of work that can be used to inform how you guys talk about data, how you use data, how you develop your own assessment literacy within your own school to further cultivate the capacity for ongoing or continuous improvement using various kinds of data to solve different kinds of problems, much in the same way that Stoll and Little and Timperley talk about it. So that's the ultimate goal of this assignment, is for you, every part of this assignment is being developed to help you guys think about nuts and bolts solutions that are relevant to your school context in regards to what needs to be done to further grow, cultivate, nurture the capacity building you need for continuous improvement in your schools. Again, anchored to the ideas from largely Little, Stoll and Harris, and Timperley. The other thing I want to take a moment to do while I've got you here is I want to take a look at the assessment literacy diagnostic tool that you're using. Now, up on the top here, it says it's assessment literacy for principals. We will actually be using it to evaluate the assessment literacy of our leadership teams. Okay? We don't want to single out the principal. This is not an exercise to judge or evaluate your principals, your school principals' skills in these areas, but rather to look at the entire leadership team and what you guys can do together based on your findings from this rubric to do the nuts and bolts work. And I keep coming back to that term, so I apologize. But, when the rubber hits the road here, where is it you guys need to work within your school to further develop your skills in these areas? So, number one, and for each of these areas, there are going to be 5 different levels. So here is developing a structure to oversee and implement assessment literacy. There are various levels that they've used. Level 1 is the most sophisticated. Level 5 is really at a beginning level of where you begin to build your skills with this. There are 5 components right now. We're just going to look at the first component. So what you will do is for the data collection, you will sit down with members of your leadership team, and you're going to talk about each of these components and do a self-assessment, do a self-evaluation. If you want to pretend that you're working on another school, you can do that. There is no need for you to disclose the name of your school in any of this. This can be kept confidential. But this is what you will use for your data collection. Your analysis, for instance, will say, with component 1, which was develops a structure to oversee and implement assessment literacy, we ranked ourselves a level 3 because we have a leadership team that represents various people on our school. It includes administrators, it includes whatever other support staff you have, however. There's a leadership team who's been given the task of defining the scope and work for a full implementation of assessment literacy. We have specific tasks and benchmarks that we will try to reach. And there's also resources that have been provided so that we can achieve this goal, these benchmarks. Okay? So to go back to your paper, what I want you to see now is how you go from collecting your data with that, I'm going to call it a self-evaluation rubric. Okay, you do analysis of where your school is at on each of the components with a couple of members from your school leadership team. That's your methods, it's your research methodology. Then what you're going to do is you're going to present your findings. And each of the findings will be presented by component. And you will lay out in the first sentence the number of the component, the name of the component. You will discuss how you ranked yourselves based on the criteria from the rubric. With the readings that you will integrate from Saucony, you can either put the findings in one section and then have another section for discussion, or you can integrate the work from Saucony into your analysis. Okay? Again, I'm more than happy to make myself available to you guys for one-on-one tutorials on how to do this. The idea is that we want to make this a document that will be useful and relevant to you guys within your school. Okay? Thanks so much for watching these, and that's about it. Bye-bye.